A $28,000 car can end up costing you 50 grand. A $55,000 car can end up costing you 80. Dad, the sticker price is a lie, or at best, it's chapter one of a much longer, much more expensive story. Today, in this video, we're ranking every major car brand by how much it actually costs to own for 5 years. Not what the dealer tells you, not what the commercial advertises, the real number: depreciation, maintenance, repairs, insurance, fuel, all of it.
Yeah, but I can tell you after 43 years in retail automotive, people concentrate on the wrong thing, which is that monthly payment. And monthly payment is just one aspect of total cost of ownership. You've got interest charges, you've got fuel, you've got depreciation, you have maintenance, and it can be a staggering number when you actually look at that final price.
We pulled data from our own CarEdge Research database, over 250 models analyzed, plus Consumer Reports, IC Cars, and Edmunds. We broke every brand into 5 tiers. You ready, Dad? We've got the cheapest to own all the way down to, what we're going to call the money pit. Are you ready to get into it?
Ooh, I can't wait.
Before we rank anything, you need to understand the 5 costs that make up the total cost of ownership, because if you're only looking at the price that you're paying for the car, you're flying blind. Number 1 pops, and this is a big one: depreciation. This is the money that evaporates the moment you drive off the lot, right after you buy a vehicle. Most people don't think about depreciation as a factor of the cost of ownership.
And it's the biggest cost of ownership. It's the biggest piece of ownership. Yes, as long as you own the car and you're driving the car, it doesn't matter. It only matters once you decide to get rid of the car. Once you find out that that $50,000 car is now only worth 10, that's suddenly when it smacks you right between the eyes and you go, oh, I wish I would have thought of that before I bought it.
Number 2, maintenance and repairs. Oil changes, tires, brakes, that's maintenance. The alternator dying at 70,000 miles, that's a repair. And the difference between brands here is staggering. Consumer Reports found that over 10 years, the cheapest brands cost around $5,000 in maintenance, the most expensive over $17,000. That's a $12,000 gap that has nothing to do with what you paid to buy the vehicle.
Nope, it's just got everything to do with what you're going to pay to keep it running for an extended period of time.
Number 3, insurance. This varies by driver, but the brand and model you pick sets the baseline. Luxury cars, sports cars, and anything with high theft rate will cost you more. Go watch our other videos on the most expensive vehicles to insure. Number 4, fuel. Pretty straightforward. A Prius and a Tahoe are just totally different vehicles in this universe. And number 5, financing. The interest you pay on your auto loan is a real cost. The average new car loan right now is north of 7, maybe even 8%. And on a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 car, you're spending maybe $10,000 over 72 months just in interest.
Yep, this is where your good credit or lack thereof can really come into play.
All right, Dad, let's start at the top, the brands that cost the least to actually own. And honestly, this tier is not going to surprise anyone who's been watching the CarEdge channel for a while. First, Dad, Toyota. They're the gold standard, and it's not even close. They dominate on resale values. Models like the Tacoma, 4Runner, and Corolla consistently hold their value better than almost anything else on the road. Their 10-year maintenance costs come in around $5,300, according to Consumer Reports, and our CarEdge data has them a little bit higher at $6,000 across all models, but their parts are everywhere. Every mechanic in America can work on one, and they're reliable. Dad, no surprise to see Toyota here at the top.
Oh, no, absolutely not. You would expect Toyota to be that brand that's going to be one of the least expensive to own over time. And just because there's so many of them out there, and as you said, just about anybody can work on them.
All right, right behind Toyota is Honda. Very similar story: incredible reliability, strong resale values, cheap parts, and every shop in the country can service them. Consumer Reports has their 10-year maintenance around $5,800. We're just a touch higher. The Civic is one of the best financial decisions you can actually make in the car market, and the CR-V is right there too.
Absolutely. They right along with Toyota, just some of the most popular brands out there. Why? Relatively inexpensive to purchase new, relatively inexpensive to maintain, relatively low amount of depreciation. It's the right fit for most folks.
Now, 2 more in our top tier list, Dad. Mazda has quietly climbed into this tier. Their resale values have improved dramatically over the last several years, and they're now consistently a top 5 brand for holding their value. Maintenance costs are moderate, around $8,000 over 10 years in our data, and you get more of a premium driving experience than most brands at this price point. This Mazda 3, CX-5, CX-50 are all strong picks. And Subaru, Dad, Subaru rounds out our top tier. Resale values are outstanding over at Subaru, some of the best out of any non-truck brands. And the Crosstrek and Outback hold their value incredibly well. Standard all-wheel drive on everything is a huge selling point and props up demand. Maintenance is reasonable, and the one knock would be fuel economy, but it isn't segment leading, and their resale values more than compensate for that.
Yeah, Subaru, just all those brands that we've mentioned, they are extremely popular vehicles, extremely reasonably priced, more bang for your buck than most vehicles out there, and then they cost less to maintain over the lifetime of the vehicle.
Yeah, let's call tier 2 the smart money tier. These are brands that aren't quite as bulletproof as tier 1 on every metric, but they deliver strong overall value. First on this list will be Hyundai. Hyundai has made big strides. I mean, their warranty alone, Dad, 5 years, 60,000 miles, bumper to bumper, 10 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. That shifts a ton of early ownership risk off your plate and back to the manufacturer. Maintenance costs over at Hyundai are competitive, parts are affordable. The knock on Hyundai is going to be the depreciation. It's slightly steeper than Toyota and Honda, and it won't surprise you, Dad, that the next brand on our list would be Kia. Pretty much everything that applies at Hyundai applies at Kia.
Well, they are brother and sister brands. They share a lot of the same components. And yes, they've both grown exponentially over the last few years to become some of the most popular vehicles out there.
Now, this one might surprise you, but in our smart money list is Nissan, Dad. They actually have a pretty strong value play, especially if you're on a budget. The Sentra, for example, is one of the cheapest new cars to own over 5 years. Maintenance costs are relatively low. The caveat's going to be the resale values. They don't hold up particularly well. The Frontier does, but the sedans and the SUVs, not as much.
Well, and unfortunately for Nissan, the reason for that is they sell about 25% of all their vehicles that they produce to, fleet companies, rental car companies, and things like that. And when you do that, well, that just devalues the vehicles. And so they depreciate faster than most of their competitors.
Now, here comes some nuance. Ford is making it into the smart money list, but only for their trucks and SUVs. We're talking the F-150, the Bronco, and the Maverick here. Those vehicles hold their value significantly better than other Ford products, and their 10-year maintenance is around $5,500, which is actually really, really good. And so you really need to look for Ford at depreciation broken down by model. We have all this, obviously, back at caredge.com/research, but Ford, with their trucks and SUVs, making it into our smart money list.
Good to see.
All right, Dad, at tier 3, we have middle of the pack. These are kind of it depends, folks. These are brands you can go either way depending on what model you pick. First on this list would be Chevrolet and GMC. The trucks, like the Silverado and Sierra, they hold their value reasonably well, and parts are everywhere. But the passenger cars, smaller SUVs, they can depreciate fast. For example, the Equinox loses about 60% of its value in the first 5 years, and the Chevy Trax is similar. Maintenance is affordable, but you're taking a hit on resale for a lot of their lineup.
Yes, if you're going to look at this group, this is the group that you're looking, I don't know, 8-10 years of ownership, not 4 or 5.
Next on the list is Jeep. The Wrangler is in a class by itself when it comes to resale values. It's one of the slowest depreciating vehicles on the road, but the rest of the Jeep lineup, it's the opposite. The Compass, Renegade, Cherokee, they depreciate like crazy. We're not even talking about the Grand Wagoneer, so do your homework when it comes to Jeep. Similarly, over at Dodge and Ram, the Ram trucks, they hold up pretty dang on well, but the Dodge vehicles, the Durango, the Hornet, those are depreciating nightmares, so you have to be thoughtful and really nuanced here when it comes to Dodge and Ram. And then Volkswagen, Dad, VW is interesting. The Jetta and Tiguan offer reasonable total cost of ownership. Maintenance is a little higher than the Japanese brands we mentioned earlier, but not too outrageous. Depreciation is moderate. And the ID4 and the other EVs, that's where things get a little off the rails. They are depreciating like crazy. And so with Volkswagen, they make it into this tier, but you have to be thoughtful.
Yeah, very thoughtful, very, very model conscious when it comes to VW. Stay away from, say, the ID4. The Jetta has been around forever, and it's still a fan favorite.
Tier 4, the premium tax. This is where we're really going to start to see the cost of ownership show up. Tesla. All right, Tesla's polarizing for a lot of reasons, but here's the thing. Maintenance and repair costs are low on Teslas. Consumer Reports has them at $5,050 over 10 years, cheapest of any brand. No oil changes, fewer brake jobs, fewer moving parts, but, and this is a huge but, Dad, depreciation is brutal. The Model X loses 63% of its value over 5 years. The Model S is similar, and used Tesla prices have fallen steadily as more inventory has hit the market. So you got to be thoughtful when it comes to Teslas.
Yes, if you're thinking Tesla, you have to think long term. You can't think short term. Short term is just going to rip your heart out.
Yeah, low running costs, terrible value retention. That's the flip side there. Buick and Lincoln, Dad, next on this list. Now, these two are fascinating because they have the lowest maintenance costs of any non-EV brands. Buick and Lincoln both come in around 52, 5,300 over 10 years. Domestic brands, cheap parts, straightforward engineering. It's the depreciation. Buick specifically, Dad. It's steep. Nobody's lining up to buy a used Buick, so your total cost is dragged down by poor resale values. Lincoln is slightly better because of the Aviator and Nautilus. They have an audience, but both of these brands struggle with depreciation.
Yeah, and both of them have a rather a much smaller audience when it comes to the general population.
Now, Pops, we've got Acura and Lexus next on the list. Lexus deserves a special mention, though. Maintenance costs are low. It's a Toyota underneath, so you get reliability advantage, and resale values are above average for luxury vehicles. If you absolutely must buy a luxury vehicle, Lexus is probably the smartest financial move. Acura is similar. It's Honda reliability, reasonable maintenance, decent resale. These are kind of your smart luxury picks at this point, Pops.
Oh, absolutely. And I can tell you from having represented Acura for a dozen years, their maintenance costs are considerably less than, say, the comparable Lexus.
Volvo has improved on reliability, but they're still a European brand with European part prices. And for that reason, Dad, Consumer Reports puts them in the bottom third for maintenance costs. Depreciation is about average. The XC40 and XC60 are the best bets if you're set on Volvo, but you're paying a premium to own compared to those Japanese equivalents that we mentioned earlier.
All that is true, unfortunately.
We're in the money pit, baby. You ready, Dad? These are the brands where people fall in love in the dealership and then they spend the next 5 years in financial pain.
Let's go.
All right, Dad, BMW. BMW is the gateway drug to expensive vehicle ownership. The cars are fantastic to drive. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but 10-year maintenance and repair costs are among the highest of any brand. Depreciation is steep. Most BMW sedans lose well over 50% in 5 years. Parts are expensive. Independent shops can save you money, but even then, you're paying more than you would for a Honda or a Toyota. The 3 Series and X3 are the most reasonable BMWs to own. The 7 Series, X5, and X7, we're not even talking about the i7 and the i3. That's where things really get painful.
Yeah, it's a great car to lease, which is probably why 60 to 65% of those vehicles are leased. Not a great car to own.
Audi's a similar story to BMW. Great cars, expensive to keep. The Quattro all-wheel drive system is a selling point, but it also adds complexity and costs when things go wrong. The 10-year maintenance is north of $10,000. Depreciation is aggressive, especially on their sedans like the A6 and A8 and the big SUV, the Q7. Mercedes-Benz will not be a shocker here. You've got 10-year maintenance costs at $13,100 in depreciation. The S-Class, Dad, loses over 60% of its value in the first 5 years of ownership. And Dad, even Porsche, their values stay high a little bit better than others, especially for the 911, but $16,000 in maintenance costs over 10 years is what you're anticipating there.
Yeah, that's now we're getting into the stratosphere when it comes to your maintenance costs. And let's face it, if these are the type of vehicles you want, you have to have that thick wallet. Otherwise, you need to be looking elsewhere.
All right, Dad. And then at the very bottom, we have Land Rover, one of the most expensive brands to own in America. And it's not even close. $17,450 in maintenance and repair costs over 10 years, according to Consumer Reports. And our data shows it to be even higher. Depreciation is catastrophic. Range Rover will lose more than 60% of its value within 5 years. And we're talking about vehicles that start at almost $100,000. Reliability rankings are consistently near the bottom of every survey. And this is a brand where you can spend 6 figures on a car and then spend almost 6 figures keeping it running.
Yeah, haven't quite figured out why Land Rover is as popular as it is, because it is incredibly expensive to maintain and, well, incredibly hard to keep it on the road, damn it.
All right, so let's bring it all together, Dad. Here are the big takeaways. Number one, depreciation is the single biggest cost of car ownership that nobody talks about. No one at the dealership is going to remind you that the thing is going to plummet in value the moment you drive it off the lot. Number two, cheap does not mean cheap to own. We've got examples here with Buick, for example, that are ultimately going to cost you a ton in depreciation. And three, the brands that dominate the cheap to own rankings are the ones you'd expect. It's not rocket science here. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Subaru. And four, Dad, it's your favorite thing to always say. Do your research before you buy a car.
This is exactly what CarEdge was built for. We've got all this information back at CarEdge for you. Shows you the depreciation, the maintenance costs, the fuel costs, interest charges, everything you would expect to know to come to a conclusion as to how expensive a vehicle is ultimately going to be. It's all available for you for free at CarEdge.
If this was helpful to you, hit subscribe. There's so many people that are going to leave comments that I'm so curious whether they think cost of ownership values are too high, too low. If they surprised you, let us know what you think in the comments down below.